The Catholic Morning Show.
Thanks for joining us this morning, wherever you may be listening to the Iowa Catholic Radio Network, online at iowacatholicradio.com or through the free Iowa Catholic Radio app. Deacon Mark Campbell, along with Sam Halligan, who's going to be joining us throughout this week, giving Alexia a little bit of break. And, of course, as you know, Bo Bonner is over in England studying for his PhD, and we'll catch up with him here in just a few minutes. Alexia had a chance to speak with him late last week by phone, and so we're going to share that conversation with you this morning. Sam, let's talk about Forge just a couple of minutes. What exactly is your role with the organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So my role with the organization is I serve as the city director for Des Moines. So John Bishop started Forge back in 2023 to help fight for the family with a strategic emphasis on men. So my role specifically is the building up of men's small groups, creating a network of men's small groups throughout the city of Des Moines.
Excellent. And, we'll get into your journey maybe a little bit later in the show, but you're a Des Moines native.
That's right.
And went to school here. I'd tell our listeners a little bit about your background as far as that goes and how you found your way back here to Des Moines.
Yeah. So I grew up in Urbandale, Iowa, went to St. Pius, the 10th Catholic Church and school, K through 8, went to Dowling.
It was St. Pius the 10th, not the 10th Catholic school,
yeah,
just
right.
in Des Moines, just to clarify.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. So I graduated from Dowling in 2013, and then my collegiate experience went to Benedictine College down in Atchison, Kansas. And then for the last 10 years or so, was serving outside of the state with a missionary organization called Damascus, doing youth, young adult camps, conferences, and retreats. And brought me back here back in February. So just prayer and discernment with my wife. We've got 3 little ones, and just felt called to be closer to our families and wanted to be a part of a mission shaping the family.
Well, it's great to have you back here in Central Iowa. Of course, you've been some places and seen some things and had some experiences, but I think all have helped formed and prepared you for this role you have with Forge. And like I say, we'll get into more about that in a little bit, but let's turn now to a conversation between Alexia and Bo.
Welcoming on to the Catholic Morning Show, the Catholic Morning Show host, Bo Bonner, who's been in Europe these last several weeks working on his PhD and many other exciting things we get to hear about today. Hello, Bo.
Alexia, great to hear from you again. I miss everybody over there.
We miss you, but we're also just so excited to be able to talk with you today about what you got going on in Europe. So for those who don't know, Bo, tell us a little bit of what you're doing over there.
Yeah, I've got to do more globetrotting than I've ever done in my life. I was over in Rome because a book that I wrote with colleagues called Catholic Cosmotechnics for an AI Age. We sent it over, and they asked us to be a part of a conference that the Dicastery on communication had. So it was about artificial intelligence, and it was really leading up to Pope Leo XIV's release of his new Encyclical. So when you get invited as a group to go to Rome and talk about things that are right in your wheelhouse, it was I had to say yes, and everybody was so kind to make it work for me. So I went and did that, and then while there, we got to record a podcast for Vatican Access, which is a podcast and then a video on YouTube with Catholic News Service. Then I was able to go to Angers, France, where the Catholic University of the West is, and give a presentation on John Henry Newman and universities. And then since then, I've been up here in London. The residential for my PhD program with St. Mary's University, the only Catholic university in London, that starts here in a few weeks, but I got to come early, and I've been working on my PhD. So it's been a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
You get to learn to sleep in very small rooms in Europe, but it's been really great.
Yeah, that's great. Oh my goodness. We were just before we were talking about the weather, and you were saying, because there's no air conditioning over there also. So it's like when it's hot, there's no escaping it, no matter where you're at.
In France, it was the equivalent, like every day I was there, it was like at least 93 degrees or over. And so it was sweltering. Like I felt like maybe I lost like 200 pounds. It was crazy. But in London, it's been great because it's been in the 60s and lightly raining with a breeze for like a week and a half. So
ideal.
Yeah, so I earned it, I think, by being in France.
Yes, definitely. Well, tell us a little bit more about this talk that you gave in France about John Henry Newman, and a little bit on how maybe the students there received this, if they had any questions afterwards, and kind of how the presentation went and how just involvement with the students went. Yeah,
well, so very specifically, it's actually with the faculty, because their students, we're getting out. But the universities in France are, I mean, we could spend a whole show talking about the unique way that they sort of operate compared to the U.S. But I will say this, for the French, especially the Catholic universities, it's a much more sort of it's a very big deal to understand themselves as Catholic, because almost the entirety of the rest of France, all of their universities are secular and very much tied to the government. And so this idea about what a university is only slowly bubbling up to be like, what should we do? What does that mean? What's the difference for Catholic universities? And so earlier in this year, I think it was like the 150th anniversary. I'm sorry, I forgot which one it is. I think it was the 175th anniversary of their university. And so they actually had what is a university? And the major theme was John Henry Newman. And a few people talked about that, including one of my close colleagues, and he's been at Iowa Catholic Radio on the morning show and on the Uncommon Good, Luigi Russi. And so he gave a talk about that. And when he heard I was coming through, he got together a group of Catholic intellectuals and professors at his university to come hear me, quote unquote, a Newman, expert, which is probably just because I'm friends with Bud, but you know what I mean? Right. And so I got to talk about John Henry Newman, the university, and especially how he was writing against ideas in philosophy at the time in the English universities, like utilitarianism and things like this. And so it was really great to get to operate, to see colleagues and operate in a very a different context. And they were very enthusiastic, and you can tell that these sort of questions are sort of bubbling up in French Catholic universities in an angle that we're just not used to in the United States, or even really in the English speaking world. So it was very much an honor to get to talk about those things with them.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be a fantastic experience and a huge, like you said, a huge honor to be able to do that. Speaking of huge, amazing experience, that's just, I think, groundbreaking and super exciting. So you were on a podcast with a group of people. This was while you were in Rome, correct? When the Pope was releasing the encyclical about AI, and you were in a podcast talking about the same AI problem, the issues, and just evolving. Can you tell us a little bit about that podcast?
Absolutely. And I should, real quick, Mark, I don't speak French, so also when I'm speaking in France, Luigi was live translating me. So that was a trip, man. I've never had that before.
You're
very crazy. In Rome,
that would be.
Yeah. In Rome, luckily, this is an English language podcast. I should assure anybody who goes to Rome, if you can learn Italian, great, but there's a lot of English speakers there too. So that probably helped me out. But this is an English speaking podcast, Vatican Access with Robert Duncan. And it is part of Catholic News Services. So you can go see this with YouTube. But yeah, we were recording right when, of course, the Pope was announcing. And so to be able to be in Rome for the first time, first of all, wow, I love Rome. The second one is we were in a broadcast studio where literally if you walk out the door, you were looking at St. Peter's. So that's just incredible. Crazy to think about. But so then, we had written this book. And like I said, Catholic Cosmotechnics for the AI age. And so it really was sort of in the wheelhouse of what the Holy Father was talking about. So to be there with, 3 other of my colleagues, there was a few other people who have written in this book, including Bud Marr, who was on the Uncommon Good, but he couldn't make it with us. So to be able to have the chance to talk about these things, I don't know what lottery I won or what 3-point competition I hit all of the points. I don't know what I did, but I feel like the luckiest guy in the world to get to be there with my friends talking about something so pivotal.
Yeah. Well, we only have a minute or two left here, Bo. And if you can kind of give us a few of the takeaways that you maybe want to share with all of us today on some of the takeaways, the discussion about AI, maybe some revolutionary things that have been discussed also involving the encyclical.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaways on one hand that we try to offer is, the Pope's very clear. He speaks for himself, so it's not like we need to decipher him. But we do have an angle on this that's usually called communications or media ecology. So some of the sort of people that went into figuring why it's so important to talk about artificial intelligence a specific way. But the thing that it came down for me is that I think the Holy Father wanted people to know you don't have to understand everything about the science that's involved here. You have to know that in this momentous time of momentous change, the Holy Father and the Church is with you. You're not alone. The Church realizes that there's a lot to be scared about, to be confused about. But before all else, Jesus Christ is victorious. It's his humanity in his incarnation that means our humanity will never be completely undervalued. And the sure way forward in this time of a lot of questions is to rest in the heart of Jesus Christ. And that really is the foundation of what his encyclical is all about.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Bo, for sharing that. And thank you so much for coming on the Catholic Morning Show. And it's been so good to catch up with you. And we'll see you in the studio here in just a couple weeks when you come back home from London.
I look really forward to seeing all you guys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Listen to the Catholic Morning Show weekdays at 7 a.m. Central on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network, iowacatholicradio.com, or the Iowa Catholic Radio app.